It's the Paris Chong Show. It's the Paris Chong Show. It's the Paris Chong Show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Paris Chong Show. Today, we have a very special guest who I absolutely love and adore and who is a dear friend of mine, the talented Grammy Award-winning photographer Mathieu Bitton. Welcome.
Mathieu Bitton, yes.
Mathieu
Thanks
Bitton.
for saying my name.
Yeah, don't say
properly.
Matthew or he'll bite your head off.
Or Matt.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Hey, Matt. Well, a couple people call me Matt, accept.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks
I know
for
you're a
having me.
busy man. It was hard to get him in here because he travels so much. So tell us, like, what so far this year where you've been.
Oh, man. This year, been to London a couple times, been to Paris about 4 times. I've been to Zanzibar in Tanzania. I've been to Kenya and the Masai Mara, Nairobi. I went to Rwanda. Got to hang with gorillas up in the mountains.
Gorillas in the
Kigali
midst.
is incredible. Probably top 5 experiences of my life. Then went to Senegal. I've been all around the States, probably other places I've already forgotten.
Right. Why don't you tell everyone what you're doing there with all these places?
A lot of this all the Africa stuff was with Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
Did some shows out there and just safaris and wonderful experiences, wonderful travel. And so I document, all the photography. And then usually what happens, like in Senegal, when Dave left, I'll stay an extra couple of days and just shoot a bunch of personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did that in Ghana as well. Because when I'm working, but I always try to get personal work.
So we're going to see a Ghana show or a Senegal
We'll probably
show?
see an Africa show.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right
and
on.
I've actually already started working. I'm finishing my Paris blues book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I went to Paris so many times this year, was to get more content for my book, because I felt like I was missing things relating to my childhood and things I talk about. I have a long foreword I wrote. And so I kind of needed to complement. And then some of the artists that I work with and some of my friends, Melody Gardot, the amazing jazz singer, Lenny Kravitz, who's, like my big brother.
Who's that?
Pam Clementieff, my best girlfriend, of many years, who's a great actress, and Mission Impossible and Guardians of the Galaxy. And she has a new movie called Killer's Game Over. So we did shoot specifically for my book, which was really cool.
So now, why were you in Paris so much?
So basically, as you know, we had the Paris Blues show.
I do.
At the LA Gallery,
amazing.
which I believe I've heard was the craziest opening
It always
ever.
is.
And
And the best sales.
Yeah, and wonderful. So many of my friends showed up.
It was star-studded.
That was kind of amazing to see, because the thing for me is I basically travel with these people.
Mm-hmm.
I follow them, and it was kind of amazing for once to see everybody show up for me.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to me. Dave Chappelle flying from Ohio, Chris Rock coming from New York, Pam, my best friend Pam Clementieff, who I also did a shoot with for the book, for the Paris Blues book in Paris. The last shoot I did for the book, flew from London. I mean, it was kind of crazy, and so many of my other friends. I don't mean to only name
there was a lot
the
of
celebrities,
stars. I
a
know
lot of friends and family, but Jason Momoa stood in line. It's just like what,
I
what's
heard Dave
going on?
Chappelle did too.
Yeah, and everybody's texting me like, "Hey, I'm
standing
outside,"
outside.
But so that was crazy to have like 1,000 people show
Yeah.
up for this thing.
Jimmy Jam.
And I mean, it's Seth Green and his wife Claire. I mean, like so many, and Seth and Claire were the first people to show up, so that was fun. I got to actually
Yeah.
hang with them.
They were really
know,
nice.
Stan Lathan and his wife Marguerite too. It was nice of people that showed up like 5, because I could actually talk to them and give them a preview of the show. Kevin Mazur was one of my dear friends, probably the biggest photographer, and he's at every event in the world. He was in the middle of shooting the Michael Jackson movie in secrecy, and actually took a break to come see the show early. So it was.
That's
I
cool.
really felt like people showed me a lot of love, and
Oh, they sure did.
So,
and now everyone expects to see all these people at all our
right.
shows. Thanks a lot, Matthew.
And I love screwing you up. And so basically, at the opening in LA, as you know, everybody was like, "Is there a book? Is there a book?" And I
Mhm.
was like, "Well, I was traveling so much, there's no way I could have put together a
Right.
book." So since then, I did a book deal with Tenoyas, who's one of my
Amazing.
favorite publishers, and I have a lot of those Elliot Erwitt books, and I mean a lot of other books as well, but the Erwitt books are always, my favorites from Tenoyas. And so the book will be out sometime in late October, and in time for the November 7th New York show of Paris
Yay.
Blues, which has been a little revamped a little bit. It's a little smaller space, and I
Mhm.
added about 5 new images, as I like to do when I travel or show. And so that's going to be a lot of people are coming there. It's
Yeah.
going to be wild. I'm excited about it. It's my first New York show ever. The LA one was my second one with you. So um, it's quite surreal. And then so I went back to Paris a bunch of times this year to finish this book because I felt like I had to shoot a lot of areas that I grew up in. I wrote a very, very personal forward, the most personal thing I've ever written. It's like 11 pages or something.
Wow.
And s-
Did you use AI?
I did not. So I'll tell you a good story.
No.
I'll tell you a really good story. So I actually was so stuck when it was time to write a piece that it was like people around me, like Grace or my ex Rebecca, my boys Miles and Julian,
Mhm.
everybody's like, try Chat GPT or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like Grace got on the computer and wrote like write about an intro about Mathieu Bitton in Paris, and it put in 3 seconds it wrote this thing, and I read it and got like demoralized. So I was like, this is my life. This is what
Yeah,
what
no,
th-
it's
what
not good.
the computer thinks my life is. So boring, and it's all these things that it found on Google about, and he won this award and blah, 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 and so it was the best exercise because I was so repulsed by what I read
Yep.
that I sat down and had the most incredible stream of consciousness writing I've ever had, to the point that people that I've shared it with, editors and authors,
Mhm.
have all said like, okay, now you need to write a full book, like a memoir, because this is not only a great thing to read, but it's something that can be really inspiring to younger artists, younger photographers, younger art directors, and all the
Yeah.
different things that I do. But I actually got such it was such an emotional roller coaster writing it. All these memories come back, and next thing you know, you're like sitting there crying at your computer, and like, I know I'm not premenstrual. Why am I randomly crying?
Oh, no, men get PMS
Yeah,
too.
I
It's called
definitely,
something else, though.
yeah. So we basically I sent it. It took about a month, and I had, again, like, family. I've got Rebecca Beto, my baby baby mama. She loves when I call her that. Is like the main text editor on the book. Miles helped me with the photo editing because I had thousands and thousands of photos, but you can only fit a couple hundred, or a few, maybe 220 or something. And so that was also really hard to, basically, I really trust Miles's taste and his vision. So to be able, he's been assisting me since he was like 13 years old, and now he's doing his own
He's
stuff,
amazing, your
and he's
son.
amazing. And I was like, okay, let's run through these images in this book, and there were images that I was so married to, and he was like, that's okay. He's like, I mean, this is like in the beginning, you've gotten much better, and I'm like, I don't want to like slap him and be like,
Yeah. No,
what do you
he's a
mean?
mini
This is,
you.
yeah, yeah.
He's a mini
But
you.
but I asked, and so I had to listen, and my friend David Ritz, who's one of the greatest authors, who wrote all the great biographies, autobiographies from Marvin Gaye, Ray Charles, Etta James, Aretha Franklin, everybody. I sent it to him, and then I realized, oh my God, if he responds and he wants to chop the whole thing up, I'm screwed because I don't, But he got back. He's like, "This is amazing." I cut off the last paragraph because it's not necessary. Cut this little section. That took me 3 weeks to do because
Mhm.
it was really hard to
Yeah.
edit. But now I'm really proud of it. I
You should be. That's a
Yeah.
really congratulations. That's an
Thank you.
amazing
Thank
publisher to
you.
get.
Very excited. The book is today's supposed to be the final day of changes. So, probably tomorrow it will go out for good. So I've been
Wow.
working on it for like 4 months. And that's why I'm so happy that I was able to take the time to even go back to shoot specific things, doing shoots with amazing artists like Melody Gardot, who's a great singer who I love. And she was just coming back from touring Japan, and we went to the Tuileries, the park, and did some amazing photos. And then Palm, we after dinner at Cost, we went and did some cool photos around there for the book. So all that stuff is new. A lot of the book is new material, and then it goes about, I would say, from 2000. 7 to now. So it's longer than the show was. The
That's
show was about
great.
10 years of
Yeah.
photos. So this goes almost 20 years, and it's you'll see my
It's ama I
family
can't
in
wait to see
there.
th
You
I know,
see,
and I love you got your the flat that you grew up in
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have that. I've got, you know, I talk about the influence of Serge Gainsbourg, the
mhm,
French singer. So there's a bunch of pictures from his house in Paris. There's, a photo of my dad sticking his tongue out at the Serge graffiti, and my dad's going through Alzheimer's. And so I've been spending a lot of time with him in that
yeah.
process of even
Mhm,
writing and even going back to shoot. And it's just kind of crazy because I'm talking about this guy who was like my hero as a kid, and now he's not completely there. But at the same time, this book is kind of a tribute to everybody and my childhood,
yeah,
and it's complete therapy. It's kind of incredible. And there's pictures of all the artists I work with in there, so people are always like celebrity photographer. It's not really that, it's
yeah,
just my friends, and they happen to be celebrities. And then you'll see some other great artists like Mick Jagger and Bruno Mars, and some are friends, some I don't know,
mhm,
but I captured. And so it's very personal. Every story, every picture has a story not told.
mhm,
The foreword is my main thing. I
mhm,
didn't want to do captions. I kind of like people just looking through the photos, and in the back there's just an index saying when and where it was
that's good.
shot, but there's no stories. I did that on the Darker Than Blue book, and then I kind of regretted it. I kind of like people to imagine their own scenario looking
Right.
at a photo. I wonder what this person is thinking, and they might not know it's somebody I know, or it's just some random person. But so yeah, I can't wait for
I can't wait either,
that to
and
be.
the first book your first book sold out, right?
Yeah, it sold out very quickly.
Didn't
So
Naomi Campbell write
so
something?
for this one, Naomi wrote a beautiful foreword,
Mhm,
and also an important part of my story, and something that connects Naomi and I is the book is dedicated to a really dear friend who passed away recently, Roxanne Lowitt, who is an amazing photographer who I grew up with. Her daughter Vanessa and I went to boarding school together in France, and I met Roxanne when I was 11, and Vanessa was my first little girlfriend at the time. And when I was 11, in June of '84, they took me to New York for the first time, and changed my life because 11 o'clock 11 I was 11 o'clock at the time. 11 years old, was I was mesmerized by New York.
Mhm, me too.
And the first night we went out, so uh Roxanne's partner at the time, John Granito, great guy, picked us up in a white van that looked like a serial killer, or
Yeah.
like a guy that works in the meat
I
packing
know, who would
district.
ever buy a white van?
And there
It's
was
like,
no seats in the back, so we were
oh
just kinda
god,
like, and he picked us
it's
up from
Ted
the
Bundy's
airport.
car.
Literally was that vibe, and he was like, I'll never forget, he's yelling at people, like, road raging and all this stuff. and
Mhm.
and then we get, it's like, "Take a shower, guys, get ready, we're going to a party," and Roxanne takes us to, I believe it was Steve Rubell's, like, one of, like, post Studio
Yeah.
54, he had gotten out of jail or
Oh
something.
god.
And I go to this party, and all of a sudden it's like, "Wait," Grace Jones comes up to me and he's like, "You're adorable," and gives me a big kiss on the mouth. I'm like, "What is this?" And David Bowie's over there with him on, and this,
Oh,
I
you
mean,
got to go to that.
but I'm
Yay.
like
I
11
missed
years
out.
old, right?
Yeah.
So it was in New York, and it wasn't. I don't think it was where Studio 54 was, but it was, Steve
Yeah.
Rubel. And so I'm like, "Wait, what is this world?"
I'm
And
obsessed with Studio
and
54.
yeah, and here's Roxanne. She's the photographer. She's shooting the party. She's this, and because she was like, I used to call her my New York mom. Anytime I went to New York, it was always, I would stay with her for a long time, and then she found me my first apartment when I moved to New York in the early '90s. And what I didn't realize till I was literally writing this, the text for this book, is that she was the first professional I knew who use her camera for work,
Mhm.
and the first professional photographer, the first backstage photographer, Saint Laurent, Dior, Lagerfeld. She was the first person backstage with a camera before BTS and all this stuff
Right.
was a thing. So Roxanne, she worked for Vogue, she worked for everybody. Once when I was, I think, 20 years old, 19 or 20, she put me in Spanish Vogue. I have the pictures.
Oh,
I
I
have
wanna
the
see
copy,
that.
and because the model didn't show up, and she called me in a panic, like, I need you here." And I still look good at 20 years old. I look like Tom
You
Cruise or
still look
something.
good now.
And so I have like full pages in Vogue, which is pretty funny. But so
I didn't know
in
that.
in the process of writing this thing, I was like, oh, this book is for Roxanne. I'm dedicating to her. And Naomi and I met initially through Roxanne. She's so many famous photos of Naomi by Roxanne. And so, I met Naomi back in the day, and then I met her again through Lenny, and then I mean, not met her again, but would hang out again
Mhm.
through Lenny, and then, a decade I spent touring with Lenny, and then with Dave, they're friends. So Naomi's always there. Like Naomi's friends with all my friends and people I work with. And when I was thinking about who would I want to write the foreword for this book, I wanted a woman because the last book had five men.
Yeah.
Lenny, Dave Chappelle, Ben Harper, Common, and Jean-Baptiste Mondino, another great photographer friend. And each chapter had a foreword, which also was overdoing it because I feel like my last book I thought would be my last book. My first book, I was like,
Yeah.
I'll never get this opportunity again. I'll never do work that's as good as this. I was so insecure about it. So I asked all my friends, will you write a foreword? And they all said yes. I thought only one might do it. So it was kind of funny.
That's
So
good though.
this one, I wanted the female energy, and I wanted somebody who really is so tied to Paris. And
Mhm.
Naomi, her career blew up as a model, and I mean, she's so much more than a model now.
Mhm.
But so yeah, she wrote about it. She wrote about Roxanne a little bit too. I wrote about Roxanne, so I'm really excited
Have
about.
you ever speaking of have you ever heard of a lady named Roxanne Hartman? She did a lot of the Studio 54.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
She we when she'll be at your show in New York.
Oh,
She's
amazing.
amazing. She took that famous photo of, Bianca Jagger on the horse.
Okay,
Yeah, she's incredible. I
cool,
just got to meet her, so she's amazing.
nice.
I know I missed out on the whole Studio 54, time, in which I am, like I said, obsessed with. I think I would have had a really good time there, but I
You
was
would have
just
been
a
perfect
little
there.
too young. I would fit right in, even in this outfit. And my
Yeah,
dog's name is Disco. I mean,
yeah.
hello. Well, let's talk about these lovely pieces of artwork that we have
My
here.
bookends.
Yeah, your bookends, your beautiful Grammys, and I should probably have my water. I'll put my water
Yeah, I
somewhere
put
else.
mine on the
I'll
floor.
put my water over here. So why don't you tell us how you won these glorious creatures?
Well, these are so one of the things that I do that some people maybe don't realize. I've been working as an art director, designer, producing vinyl editions of a lot of records, box sets from Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, Quincy Jones recently.
Prince.
Prince, all a lot of my favorite artists,
Right.
and War and many others. And basically, when during COVID, I got to produce a an album. Dave had done this incredible thing. Chappelle had done this incredible thing in this cornfield in Ohio when the whole world was locked down, and George Floyd happened. George Floyd was
Yeah.
killed, and he really felt like he had to talk about it
Mhm.
about a week after it happened. And so he basically set up this show in a cornfield in Ohio, in his neighbor's cornfield. There was only about 60 people there, if that many at that time. Everybody's 6 feet apart and all
Mhm.
that, the mask, and they tested everybody, and
Don't miss it.
and he did this very famous thing now called 846, which was all about George Floyd. And when it happened, it was actually the most viral video of, I think, twenty twenty
Mhm.
one. And for a piece of, it's not even comedy, it's commentary. Um, it had like 40 million views or something. I mean, it was pretty crazy for something
Yeah.
that just came out of a cornfield in Ohio. Of course, Dave, being as brilliant as he is, found the way to basically express what everyone was feeling, but didn't have the words to express.
Right.
And so I was so moved by it that at the time I told Dave, like, I really want to put this on vinyl. I feel like this is very important. And he had been doing the comedy specials, the Netflix specials on vinyl, which I was designing,
Yeah.
photographing all of these, but I wasn't a producer on those. And so I said, would you mind if I do? And then I went to Jack White's label, Third Man, which is the greatest label, especially for vinyl. I mean, all they do the greatest releases. And Ben Blackwell, who runs the label, I went to him and I said, hey, we want to do this thing. They were really excited to put out a Dave record, obviously. And while we were still in this Chappelle summer camp of
Mhm.
2020 through 2022 of, lockdown and everything, Comedian Mo Amer, who was performing in the cornfields, brought this
So funny, they're
incredible.
performing in a cornfield.
It was incredible, and it was really like Jon Stewart called it the New Jerusalem. It was really like a community,
Yeah,
and nobody from the outside. People would come see the shows, but we got to really experience something where no other Live Nation had no other tickets for sale anywhere in the world except that cornfield in Ohio. He was the first show to happen, official show that happened during COVID, which is pretty crazy.
yeah,
And
pretty
Governor
wonderful.
DeWine in Ohio gave him the permit to do it. Was because Dave had also, when the shooting happened in Dayton, it was a really horrible shooting. He threw together this major event for Dayton and brought Stevie Wonder and Jon Stewart and Chance the Rapper, and all these people came together, paid for all the funerals. I mean,
Mm,
Dave is just, he's on another level of human kindness and generosity. But so they let him do these shows. So basically, Mo Amer brought this incredible poet named Amir Suleiman, who's, and this is amazing about that time in our lives, is we all became real the brothers and
yeah,
sisters. Like we were together for all this time when the world was locked down. Nobody else was working. We were
yeah,
working.
you
It
were
was
still
kind of
working.
surreal. Everybody was calling me like, "Wait, we're stuck at home. Can I please?" Even the biggest photographers would call me and be like, "Can I come shoot this thing?" And I'd be like, "Sorry, they will only allow me." And
Yeah.
maybe my kids, because they would come out when I broke both my arms. My kids came out to help, but that's another story. But so Dave has this place called the Shack in Ohio, a little clubhouse that he has, and it's a kind of a gallery of photos that I shot of moments with Dave, and
Cool.
and uh, Amir Suleiman came and performed this poem called "We Will Win." We must win, sorry. And Dave heard it and was like, that's the B side to 846 on the vinyl. So we put that on vinyl. It got Grammy nomination. I think it was too heavy for the committees to vote. They ended up giving it to, I think, Don Cheadle
Why
for
was he
reading.
cussing?
He was talking about
See?
real stuff about police and
Yeah.
everything, and all the other specials got won Grammys. That
Yeah.
one was a little touchy. And so it was funny because Don Cheadle won it for reading John Lewis's book. So it wasn't for even for original
Yeah.
material, which I always thought that should be a separate category, but that's a different conversation. So, but we got the nomination, and then after that, we were in Austin, and basically Dave was like, "Listen, you like this is what you do. You love doing this stuff. You're good at it. Just take over all the vinyl stuff." So my
Oh
first
God. Mm.
Netflix vinyl thing that I worked on, an album producer, uh, The Closer, and that won Best Comedy Album. So I was a producer, hence this. And then
I love it.
this year, earlier this year, won this one for the What's in a Name special that he did, which was a speech at his old high school, Duke Ellington in DC. And now we just submitted the album for the Dreamer. So hopefully there'll be a third
Third.
level
Yeah,
next
we
time.
need another table,
Yeah.
guys. We need a taller
So,
table.
but it's this is just thanks to Dave's trust and kindness, and believing that he
Amazing.
can hand it off, and
That's gotta feel amazing,
it
right?
feels
Just to
amazing also because I've been nominated before as an art
mhm.
director for Jane's Addiction box that I had done in 2009. But something about these projects being so important for culture, the Jane's thing was important for
Mhm.
music culture. These are like what he does, I believe, is very important
Right.
for the world, not just culture. And so it felt really special being a part of that and receiving these for these
Well,
specials.
well, we're all so proud of
Thank you.
you, and you deserve it. Hello,
Thank
you
you.
deserve it. Now, I'm listening to these weird sounds in here that sound like earthquakes again. Are
Sounds
you
like just the wind or
I know,
something.
but now I'm all paranoid because of all the earthquakes. Did you feel those?
I just felt like the
Yeah,
wind.
but every time there's any kind of noise, I'm
Oh,
like, "It's a
yeah.
fucking earthquake."
Yeah.
Okay, so let's, get
Some
back to the
Yeah.
so you might have another one coming out,
We'll see.
and it must just be so much fun working with Dave Chappelle. Are you just laughing all the
Yeah,
time?
and it's like I said, there's a brotherhood, there's trust, there's, a feeling of purpose,
Yeah,
so I work with artists that I feel like it's a luxury to me that I can pick, I get offered a lot of gigs and
yeah,
stuff, and I turn down a lot of stuff because, sometimes when you're in your 20s, you kind of want to do everything.
mhm.
30s, you want to do almost everything. 40s, you're like, okay, I got to figure out what my future is, but I need the money for this. And then now it's kind of like
I don't want to do
money is not
anything.
everything. You know what I mean?
Now we're like, we
And
don't want to
yeah,
do anything.
and so I feel very grateful to work. Ben Harper is another artist I
Yeah.
adore that I work with, and Quincy Jones, which I think I'm about to do some more Quincy Jones work, and I got to do that incredible Vinyl Me Please
Hmm.
box set. So for me, that's the achievement. It's not even the Grammys and these other things.
Yeah.
It's the achievement is getting the trust and making these artists happy with their own work, the
Right.
packaging that goes with their work. Because, even we're getting to work on Prince box sets
I
and
know.
unreleased
Really
albums and all
wild.
these things was so surreal to me. But I think I have to accept at this point that I've worked hard enough that it makes sense. But, sometimes you still pinch yourself.
Now, because you're just like you're it's such a lucky thing to be able to do as a photographer that you have like a steady gig because there's a lot of people not working right now.
Yeah.
I hear from like really talented artists like, what is everyone doing to make money? There's just no jobs and contracts are lost and people aren't paying the way they used to. How did you get a job like that? How did that come about?
I mean, I think it's just a whole career. It's just in the nonstop hustling and
Hmm.
and just working so hard and just going to these people and proving to them that I
Hmm.
can do this thing. And if people like Lenny give me the chance to prove that I can do these things. I mean,
Right,
the 10 years I spent on the road with him, uh, I perfected my art in every
right.
way. And Lenny would be like, "You do, yeah, do the merch, do the
Yeah,
packaging, do the music
so
videos."
amazing.
I got to do everything, and even if something that I didn't know how to do, I figured it out.
Yeah, you were childhood friends with Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny I've known forever. He used to live with a guy that's like my big brother, Christopher Anuke, who's a designer, incredible designer. And so I've known Lenny since the 80s. And
The good old days.
yeah, but it's funny because Lenny, I used to be such a fan, and I still am. But when I was a kid, it was like
Yeah,
this guy, I love this guy, and so when we started working together, even though we were friends, it was still surreal to me. It was
yeah.
the same thing as Dave. Like, I used to literally, I would miss birthday parties or weddings if Chappelle show came on, because whatever day
Oh,
that came on, you're not
you
getting me out of the house. So how surreal.
well, you manifested it.
I guess so, and how surreal that it actually happened to the Prince connection,
Yeah.
because the craziest connection is that I met Dave at the Gansevoort Hotel
This is
in
wild.
the elevator going up to a Prince rooftop show when Prince,
Okay.
Kevin Mazur was there shooting. I never shot a Prince show. It's my biggest regret.
Yeah.
I worked on stuff as a consultant and designer while he was
Yeah.
around, but I never photographed him.
Well, I got to party with Prince too. We're like I think we're the 2 biggest Prince fans that are alive today. There's some others, but we're the 2 biggest.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I used to love Prince. I got to go to Paisley Park and hang out with him, quite a few times. And thank you for bringing up the Gansevoort because I'm gonna be doing, some artwork in the Gansevoort Hotel in the Meatpacking District in New York, and Mr. Bitton is heavily featured in the, curation,
Yeah, it's like
and
an extension of Paris Blues,
yeah, and an
and
extension of me.
an extension of you, Paris,
Yeah, it's
Paris.
all about Paris.
And also, there's a gigantic print that
It's
is
gorgeous.
exclusive to the
Yeah,
Gansevoort. That's
yeah,
not in the Paris
that they're
Blues
probably
show.
gonna
It's in
end
the
up
book,
keeping
the back
forever.
cover of the book.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and that's fun. I appreciate you
Oh,
putting
how
my
could I
work in
not? Well,
that.
it's a French-themed restaurant, so how could I not think of you? You're about as French as it gets. Now, you talk so highly of Paris, and I know how much you love Paris. Could you ever live there again?
I think I could have a place there. I don't know
But you could never
if I
live.
could be full time around French people.
No.
um,
Me neither.
they're a lot, but
Yeah, they
I
are.
love going back. I mean,
They're
I am
mean.
French, by the way, so I'm
They're
self
mean if you don't
deprecating.
speak French. They're
But
mean to even
no, they're
pretty
mean even if
girls.
you
They how
speak
you I would
French.
no, they're horrible. I
My
mean,
my best friend Benjamin, who Trigono, he'll like he's still mean every time I tell him anything, but he's my best friend, but
ugh.
he loves to roast me, and that's important. You got to have friends that can roast you and you can
Oh,
take it.
I
But
don't like that.
um, yeah, so I think
So that's a
Paris is
no on living in Paris full time.
not full time. No,
But do you love Malibu?
I do love Malibu.
Yeah, are you a
It's
Malibu guy now?
I mean, I've been living there for 5 years, so I
So if
feel
we
like I'm a
so
Malibu
if
guy.
we go down to Malibu, we can sometimes catch you running around in your Speedo on the beach.
For sure, yeah,
Yeah.
in my six pack,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Well, no, you look good. You're doing good.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's a
A couple
stressful.
couple big accidents in the past
Yeah,
4
poor
years,
Matthew got really
breaking
hurt
a lot
taking
of stuff,
pictures of Lenny
and I, like,
in
sliced my
Mexico.
finger last night, and
Oh
I'm
god, you
always
need to
hurting
be
myself.
careful.
Yeah, I'm working
You
on
need to
the
be careful, but
Zen.
well, you have a beautiful life, you have a beautiful family, you have beautiful kids, you have a beautiful girlfriend, beautiful young girlfriend, and you're I loved the article you did, with Miles in the Eye of Photography.
Yeah,
That was hilarious.
that was really cool. So Carol Schmitz, who runs that from France, yeah,
Mhm,
L'œil de la photographie, Eye of Photography. She's done a couple.
like what he said.
She did a great Paris Blues feature. She had done uh, a great feature, I think, for Darker Than Blue, and one during COVID. She's been very supportive of my
Yeah,
work, and we were talking and about ideas, and she was like, "Oh, your son's also shooting, and maybe he wants to take the Proust questionnaire too, because that
mhm.
was my second time doing it." And I love the way she put them like
It's so
questions
great,
together
I
and
loved
the
it.
answers together, and to feature Miles's work, which is so great, and I'm so
He's so
proud of him.
you should be. He's
I
so much
I um
he, like, idolizes you.
I mean, I idolize my kids. They're awesome, and it's really I love seeing how different they are. Julian's
Mhm.
always had this. It's funny because Julian's I'm going to Ohio a couple days for Dave's birthday shows, and Julian's going to assist me. And Julian doesn't like this work. Like he doesn't like photography.
Yeah,
It's not his thing. He
yeah,
likes photos,
it's
but
like my son,
yeah, he doesn't want to. Miles is like doing all this stuff and
walking in
beyond.
your
Now he's
footsteps.
designing bags with his other friend Miles.
Yeah.
They hijacked my opening and. Where getting everybody trying on this super cool fur bag they did, which I love.
I love those
I love
bags,
the
I want one
spirit,
of those.
and I love the spirit of like it's my dad's big opening. Let's crash it and do photo shoots with people. Madlib was there. I didn't mention before. One of the greatest
Yeah.
artists, producers. He and I are working on some other stuff together. I just did the art for his last release with Black Thought and Your Old Drogan. Now I'm working on another one. So it's really cool to see. And I love like I'm actually jealous of Miles because
Hmm.
he's shooting Leica at his age,
Oh,
and since
yeah.
he was like 14,
Well, that's y
and I couldn't afford a Leica till I was in my 30s,
I know whenever I see young
or
guys coming in
my
with a like, I'm
40s.
like, "Oh, did your grandpa give you that?" And they're
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I'm like,
exactly. And so I just gave him for his he's turning 25 in
I
December. I
know.
gave him an early
So
SL2S,
nice.
as
And
a
he'll
gift.
use it.
And he's already like using it and doing videos and
I
all that
still wanna
stuff.
do a show, a li young Leica show with some of the young
That
guys,
would be cool.
like, and I've been meaning to do that,
Definitely
yeah,
get
well, but
Miles
I
in there.
told Miles about that. I know
Yeah.
I really love him, you've done such a great job with your boys, you're such a
Uh,
good dad. Well, so now you were with Lenny for 10 years, and then you've been with Dave for how long?
Almost 10
10
years. So
years.
there
So,
was
like,
part of it where it was
yeah, you've
simultaneous.
been,
I
like,
was
a
jumping
working
back
full
and forth.
time, yeah, with incredible jobs. Like, do you see yourself with Dave for
I mean, I
long?
love working with Dave. It's like, the way it's a little different with Dave. Lenny, I was literally like, I would leave for 4 months, 6 months,
Yeah,
Dave works differently. So I'm able to go do, other jobs. I'm able to do, I was freelance while I was with Dave. I mean, with Lenny, I would freelance on design stuff
yeah,
and because I could do it from the road, but with Dave, it's actually kind of open enough. We've had a very big, last year was insane. This year was crazy on the early
mhm,
part of the year, not as much right now. So I'm still able to do all my other stuff, and as long as he likes hanging out, and
and you'll
I
keep
I
doing it.
love it because he's very inspiring and always open to That's the thing. At this point, I'm 51 now. I turned 51 this year. I don't really want to deal with artists who have egos
Yeah,
and are going to be like, how
difficult.
lucky you are to work with me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I'm finally at a place where I'm like, it's mutual. Like
yeah.
we can mutually respect one another. We're mutually lucky to work with one another. I have my value, you have your value, and it meets in the middle in a really nice way. And so, would I want to go on tour with a 18-year-old
No. God,
artist,
that'd be horrible.
whose music will be forgotten,
Yeah,
might be big hits now,
tomorrow.
but I feel like the only person that really impresses me is young is Billie Eilish. Like I love her,
Oh,
but excuse me, a lot of this other stuff when people are like, try to shoot this person, I don't really
you
have
don't care.
an interest, and there's been people that have reached out about things and, get
Are
kind
you
of
exclusive
offended.
with Dave, or
No, no,
do you think he
I'm
would
always
care if
freelance.
you went and did
No, he
something?
does.
He doesn't care.
Dave is introducing me to people, being like, you should use him to shoot your things
Oh,
since day one.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
since
cool.
and so No, I mean, I think that's
Right on.
he's
Well,
been so supportive even of all these projects, and
mhm.
he'll be probably in New York for the
Yeah.
opening. He's been very much there for me.
Is there someone on your list you'd wanna work with?
Well, it's funny. Last
Well, you
year,
said Billie Eilish, but anyone
I would
else?
love to shoot
Mhm.
or work with her. Jack White, I've done design work for, like posters,
Mhm.
and I just worked on a 45 for him, a White Stripes thing.
Yeah.
But I've never done a shoot with him, so he's top of my list. I just got to shoot Mel Brooks at his home.
Yeah,
That
I
was
know you like
incredible.
that.
So that was I did a list last year, and he was number 2 on the list, so I can check that off. Woody Allen, I know that's not appropriate. I'd love to photograph Woody Allen. I'm a big Woody Allen fan.
Well, you never know.
Um, I know I'll get shit for that, but you know,
I don't even have anything to say about that
it's the
one. I
work.
don't have
It's
a
I'm
comeback.
not trying to like become his best friend.
Yeah, yeah.
And but so there's definitely a few people that I haven't worked with that I still would love to. And
Which I'm sure you will, knowing you.
I mean, it seems like things naturally happen, and
Mhm.
it is the laws of attraction thing.
Right.
And that's been pretty good for me to really put something out there and really kind of wish it into existence. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but I always seem to at least end up meeting these people in the most random ways, or sometimes they will be at a Dave show or
Mhm.
something, or it'll be at Whole Foods, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is kind of crazy. I was just talking about this person. So
Do they think
probably,
you're the bodyguard?
yeah, all the time,
Really?
even with Dave sometimes, yeah.
Oh.
And we have like serious bodyguards, but I still get that, yeah.
That's fun.
People, I get all kinds of things like, oh, you're the manager, you're the this, you're the that, but I always have a camera on me, so I'm like, isn't it obvious,
Yeah.
and the
Well,
photographer, but sometimes they don't pay attention.
so you have a show coming up in New York on November 7th, which I'm
Yeah,
so glad I get to be at and help
I'm
somehow host
excited that,
something for you in
yeah,
some way.
yeah. I got
And
a cool Leica project too that I did with my friend Jonas Smith at Ether.
okay.
There's a Leica reporter jacket coming out that we
Oh,
developed. That's
I want one.
it'll be yeah, it'll be released end of October or announced, but so I don't know if I'm breaking. I'll let you know if I'm
Well, by the
breaking.
time this comes out,
Yeah,
we'll already be wearing them, right?
probably.
And then
So that's a really cool thing.
mm,
I brought in a friend, Bisan Harriman, who's an
mhm,
amazing photographer in London, like a guy.
mhm.
He came to the opening in LA too. JR came to the opening. I'm sure, hopefully, we'll see him in New York. But so much love, and so that reporter jacket's going to be a really cool
Well,
thing to.
people love you, honey. People
Well,
love and respect you.
I've got a lot of love, and I love a lot of people back, and you're always going to have a couple people that are
Jealous
there.
bitches.
Yeah, there's always like every time I've had like one of these accidents, I'm like, there's some jealous person with a voodoo
I
doll
know
that's
there
just
really is. There's a
because
lot of
I've had,
jealousy going on in the
yeah, and
world.
it's
It's
weird because it's
weird.
sometimes it's just like such petty things,
Yeah.
even about the opening. Like, some people were just like not accepting that. They're like, no, it wasn't 1,000 people, it was like 300. But he's saying it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, the guy at the door told me he stopped counting when we got to like 980. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we're not supposed to have that many people there,
Yeah,
so we
because of
stopped
so
counting. Yeah.
safety or whatever, and we were bringing people to the side. I mean, it
Yeah.
was like, sorry,
James is
LA
always
City.
underplaying it.
I know.
I'm like, there isn't there's
And
a lot.
Paris ended. I'm gonna roast Paris. She ended the party early because her feet were hurting, and so that's why some people showed up at the end. They're
I'm
like, "Wait, I'm there.
sorry.
It's over. You said 9 o'clock."
You guys can, you
But
know what? I
Paris
can't
said,
party on like I used to after talking and being
"Yeah."
on for hours. Sometimes
So
I have
in
to
New
hide
York, you
in
have to wear
I
like
know
loafers.
but the good news about New York is that I have time there. So it's really earlier than
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is. So I can actually stay out. I stay out late in New York. I can stay out late in New York.
There you
I
go.
have to know I'm hosting that dinner for you and you're going to have a party there. And so that takes us to November. And then your book's coming out in
The book
October.
should be out end of October, or at least in time for the show. I'm
Okay.
also a keynote speaker at the Leica Society
I love that. I'm gonna be
convention
there
thing. You'll be
too.
there, I think, the same
Yeah,
day, so that's cool.
with
Uh,
my loafers on.
yes, exactly. And another thing I want to mention that was so cool that we got for Paris Blues is we got a cover story in the LA Times
Oh my god.
from Pamela Chellen. Yeah,
Disco and I made
and
it.
it's funny because on the web version, it was all the same photos. Lenny's on the cover
Yeah.
with the trumpet. There was a picture of me at Sunset Sound Studios, and then the picture of Dave inside. In the print copy, it's I'm
It's
not in it. They cut out my photo, and they have
it's
Paris
me
and
and
Disco running
Disco.
by some prints,
It's
which I
so
thought was
cool. I know,
hilarious.
I couldn't
But
believe that. I know.
but
And that day, that guy, the photographer was there. I feel bad. I forgot his name, but he was just lovely. And he said, "Can you go and take a picture?" And I said, "Oh, for what?" I didn't know. And he said, "No, well, can you?" I was like, "Oh, I don't need to be in this." And he said, "Well, can you at least just walk past the
that's
photos?"
so
I said,
funny.
"That's fine." And then Disco ran out. He goes, "Oh, there's a dog here too." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, can you please get the dog in?" So he
Yeah.
wanted to get me and the dog, and I like it because you can't really tell
No, it
it's
was super
me.
cool,
And I
and
love that
I'm
Disco is
framing one of those,
forever. I know, I need to
and
frame that too, and
and
we ran out and bought LA Times all over town, and
no,
it was
and what's funny, so Pamela Chellen, who wrote
I
a
love her.
really great piece, she also
Amazing.
helped me with editing the book. I sent her the intro. She helped with that.
Shout out to Pamela.
Shout out, and Pamela's super funny too. And she was telling me it was really funny because after that article came out, some of my friends were like, "Hey, can you write a story on my on my book on my show?" And I'm like, "Come on, guys, that's not how it's done, you
Yeah.
know." So people in especially in LA, I feel like it's a real LA thing. Like,
Yeah. And I'm surprised how many people saw, like, crazy ladies were at the gym were coming up to me, "I saw you in the LA
oh
Times,"
yeah,
and you can't even tell it's really me,
yeah.
So,
I had
like, you
people I
notice
hadn't
that
spoken to in like 30
it was
years reach out.
awesome.
So
Are you
thank you,
looking at your
Pamela.
watch because 'cause you're hungry? Because 'Cause I'm hungry too.
I mean, I can eat. I'm looking at my watch to make sure it was not on New York Times.
Oh, well, why don't you tell us about the art that you just did for Lenny's new album?
Blue Electric Light, really great album. I was trying to go out to Europe this past month to shoot some shows. We did a really cool shoot, by the way, for Paris Blues, which some people will get a preview of soon. Lenny and I did like a gangster illegal shoot at the Eiffel
I
Tower
saw that.
after they put the Olympic rings up. We took a
I
Triumph
got to see it.
motorcycle. She got a preview.
I
We
didn't
took
sh
his Triumph Bonneville on the steps of the Trocadero in front of the Eiffel Towers.
It's a
There
great
were
shot.
police officers looking at us like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" But then I was like, "It's Lenny," and they're like, "That's fine," you know, like
Yeah, he gets
so
away with murder, these
they let us do
celebs.
a very illegal shoot, and there was a viral video of us driving to the Eiffel Tower that got like 4 million views, and you see me in the van. Uh, Somehow my beard was grayer in that video. I don't know. I must have taken the right vitamins. My beard got darker.
Darker than blue?
Darker Than Blue, yeah. And so Lenny's new album at Blue Electric Lights, I got to do the art direction. Our friend Laurie Stark from Chrome Hearts did the photos. They're really
Mhm.
cool. And that's the thing too with me because I can do all the different things. So sometimes I'll do all of it. Sometimes I'll just do the artwork. Sometimes I'll do a video. Sometimes, so
Yeah.
but it's cool because I don't really have much ego about it. So it's not like I'm gonna be like, I want to do the photos. So I like that on some different projects I can do different things. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing the girls out.
I know, I can't believe I
I've
took him
only
out of the
seen one
house.
more. I did live with one
This one
once.
is the first time it's traveled. That one was in the show, but I
This
received
is a
this more
Virgin
recently.
traveling
Yeah,
Grammy. It
yeah.
only went from
This
one
one.
place to another. This
Yeah,
is a Virgin.
yeah,
But, I used to live with the Grammy. I think I told you my ex-boyfriend played in Culture Club, and he
yeah.
had a Grammy, but it was a special Grammy with a little pin that had a diamond in it.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember why it had that diamond.
That would maybe mean they had, like, sold, like, certain
It's something
billions of copies
crazy,
of
but
album.
yeah, so I used to love the living with the Grammy,
I mean,
but
was it
I
Kanye
never
West that, like, peed in his Grammy?
that sounds like Kanye.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Kanye
Drake
move.
was drinking vodka or something out of
Sounds like
it.
Drake. Oh, yes, and if and why don't you share with everyone if people wanna see a lot more of your work, where can they go and look at it?
Okay, so, well, I have a few. I'm working on a new one. That's MathieuBittonPhoto.com. That's about to go live. I had to do a presentation for a very big artist about possibly shooting their album, a
Okay.
legend. So I literally created a new site as a portfolio for this person. And then BittonPhoto.com, people can buy some prints there.
LA, like a gallery
Not like a
LA.com. You can buy some
galleryla.com. You
prints
can
there
still buy
too.
Paris Blues photos from
Yes,
Paris
I have them
in before they go to New York and all
before they
that.
sell out.
Yep, and they've been doing quite well. And then CandyTman on social media, Facebook, Twitter, or sorry, X. Although I don't like X
Why the
anymore.
Candyman?
That's a good question. So back in the 90s, I worked, let's see, so that would be my friend Harry Weinger, who I talk about in the LA Times, who hired me to do my first art for funk compilations because
Mhm.
he was the guy. He's now at Universal, and this was Polygram before Universal bought them. He got me working on all the Motown stuff, Marvin, Stevie,
Mhm.
all James Brown stuff. Oh, that's my friend
All the
Harry.
good stuff.
So we used to have a thing called the Funk Lab, and this is in the 90s. We would meet at the Polygram offices and come up with ideas for funk compilations for the Funk Essentials series.
Mhm.
So the first paying work I ever got was the Funk Essentials series as a art director designer. Thank you, Harry. That was in the 95 maybe. And then we all had to have a kind of funk name. So I was the Candy Tangerine Man, and that's CandyTman, and
Yeah.
because that was too long to put as a handle. And then back in '97, I got to work on a book with Quentin Tarantino that came out in 1998 called "What It Is, What It Was," and at that time, it was like everybody's got to have a nickname.
Yeah.
So stuck
Candy
with
T.
Candy Tangerine Man. Quentin did a screening of the Candy Tangerine Man movie, which is a blaxploitation film starring this guy John Daniels. It's so bad, it's amazing. It's like the guy's like a family man by day and he's a pimp by night.
Yeah. Like you.
And a lot of people might know now that I have a huge collection of black film memorabilia.
Yeah.
You know, it's in the thousands of posters and memorabilia and paintings.
No
Incidentally,
white dudes.
huh?
No white dudes.
Some white dudes,
Mhm.
but
You find them
the
boring.
evil white dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work predominantly.
Well, you
on
like
this,
Woody
yeah.
Allen, so
Yeah, well, there you
gotcha.
go. Mel Brooks.
Which is really funny because when I heard when the Candyman, when I grew up in Las Vegas, and there used to be a guy called the Candyman, and he
Really?
was a pedophile.
Oh, damn.
I know.
Harris is coming up with the hits on this one.
No, it's true. Anybody that grew up in Vegas in the 80s knew who the Candyman
Well, there's
was.
that,
You're like,
there's the Sammy Davis songs, the Candyman.
Yeah, we used to go by his house when we were bored and drive by his house because they arrested him. But everybody used to like on the board, we'd be like, "Oh, let's go drive by the."
I thought you were
Candyman's
going to say
house."
we used to go by his house and flash him.
No, 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 no. That'd be really
But great information.
no.
Anyway,
Sorry, it
so
just reminded me of that.
that's my story.
Well, now
of
we know about the
yeah,
Candy Tangerine
yeah.
Man.
But Candyman because it's easier to say the Candy Tea
Yeah.
Man. So, and people know me as, I get a lot of love on the streets now. It's kind of crazy. Or in
Yeah.
airports, on planes, like Candyman, and it's
Yeah.
like so surreal to me. My kids always laugh at it.
I think it's great.
But I get a lot of that lately. So that's always funny that they don't say like Matthew. They're always like Candyman,
Candyman.
not the pedophile.
Oh, sorry. Thank
So,
God.
no,
Thank God.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute delight having you here.
Thank you for having
And
me.
then we're gonna wrap things up and let you know that we're really thrilled to have you here listening to the Paris Chong Show, and we have a lot more coming your way, and we'll see y'all real soon.
Thank you. And I will now perform surgery on my
Okay.
finger.
Thank you, Disco.
Ciao.
It's a Paris Chong Show. It's a Paris Chong Show, show. It's a Paris Chong Show. It's a Paris Chong Show, show. Sit down and chat for a while. Tell me everything you know. Let's be naughty.